Good morning, Info Warriors. This is Mary Ellen Moore for Infowars.com. I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm heading to Austin, Texas for my permanent move. I'm here today to try to become part of the Infowars reporter team. The world is upside down, and we have to show people how they can become awakened to what's really going on. It's a very difficult task, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is Mary Ellen Moore for Infowars.com. As many of you Infowars listeners know, there is a banking, a medical, and a petrochemical conspiracy against the American people. This all goes back to the AMA, the American Medical Association, that was formed back in 1847. And at that time, there was only a very, very small percentage of doctors who were performing what we call heroic medicine or allopathic medicine. Most doctors were homeopathic at that time. But this club that was formed, the AMA, only allowed doctors who were practicing allopathic medicine into their private club. Around 1900, everybody's favorite robber baron, John D. Rockefeller, basically said competition was a sin, took over the entire medical profession, and turned it into the medical monopoly that we have today. The trick was how he revamped the system from a homeopathic system into an allopathic system was the key to the whole practice of what we know today as modern medicine. Rockefeller's goal was to monopolize the pharmaceutical and the petrochemical industry all into one. John D. Rockefeller's company was Standard Oil at the time. He managed to take over controlling interest in IG Farben, which was Germany's biggest drug maker. And we'll save the Hitler connection for another show. But the final alliance that John D. Rockefeller made was with J.P. Morgan and Andrew Carnegie. So you can see he already had his minions set in place with the banking industry. So the Rockefellers directly took control of all the drug companies, and then all the directors of that cancer crypt called Sloan Kettering were all Rockefellers and his banker buddies. This brings the question, how did we get to the point today where most doctors have become drug pushers? How did the pharmaceutical industry get so strong? Well, that brings us to the cancer industry and some other questions and our special guest. With me today is Chris Maple, who is the producer of the upcoming trilogy of films called The Great Culling. Chris, thank you and welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mary Ellen.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. It's exciting to be here.
This is really an unusual thing, having 3 films. Why a trilogy?
It wasn't our plan from the beginning, I can tell you that. After 15 months of filming, we sat down to edit. We realized way too much to try to jam everything into 90 minutes, so we figured we'd kind of expand on each topic. The trilogy is our food, our air, and our water. So our first film that we're editing right now is the water film.
And that's on fluoride.
Fluoride.
Sodium fluoride.
That's right.
That they put in water and toothpaste and pharmaceutical drugs and
everything you can imagine. It blows me away because they can't dump it in the oceans and they can't dump it into streams.
But they can dump it in my body and your body.
Right.
And our children's bodies. And how about our animals, our horses, our cows that have to drink this stuff because of the source? It's
a great point that you touch on because babies and animals and pets, that sort of thing, are more susceptible to the, to the effects. They're smaller. They're getting the same doses as we are. The CDC just recently stated mothers should not be using fluoridated water to mix formula with. So
but they sell it in the grocery store as baby's first water. I've seen that for years. How do we educate these women to not buy this for their babies?
I mean, it just goes back to these regulatory agencies that are supposed to, be kind of looking out for our best interests, and as you know, they're not.
So, we can't have raw milk, raw cheese, we can't have organic anything and buy from your local neighbor who's happens to be a farmer, but we can ingest deadly chemicals and deadly cancer-causing agents, and that's okay, and nobody cares? This is Mary Ellen Moore with Infowars.com. Today we're at a local farmer's market in Southern California, and we're going to find out exactly how conscious these people are regarding organic foods as opposed to non-organic, if they know anything about GMO, why they're at a farmer's market, and just how health conscious they really are.
Well, personally, I'm very pro-organic, greatly opposed to a lot of the pesticides that are being used in a lot of our products. Unfortunately, there's a lot of genetically modified foods, even here at the farmers market.
Are you aware of the Food Safety Act that is passed recently where they want to limit farmers, both organic and otherwise, from being able to bring their wares to farmers markets like this?
That's like a joke. Food safety? Please. Why are they preventing these guys from doing what they do and bringing us good food?
Why do you think they're trying to prevent it?
Because they want money.
Well, the FDA and the Department of Agriculture are eventually all going to be under the Department of Homeland Security, so we're going to have yet another umbrella organization. Does that sit right with you?
It doesn't seem to make sense that Homeland Security would be taking care of our food, no.
Where does it stop?
Right. I agree.
Signing off from the farmers market, this is Mary Ellen Moore for Infowars.com. So you've been on quite a journey. What I'd like to know is, what was your aha moment, your light bulb moment, so to speak?
You know, I'd have to say it was Building 7.
Oh, 9/11.
9/11.
I've certainly sent that video to many, many friends and had them be very puzzled and never having heard of it.
Right. It's pretty common, isn't it?
It is common. And you saw Building 7 fall the way it fell, and you decided to do what?
At that point, I realized that there's a little bit more to that whole picture. I was a little upset too, thinking there's no way that our own government or the powers that be would do something like that to their own people.
Well, do it, or perhaps just allow it to happen, or whatever. We'll probably never know the entire truth about it. But that truth led you to understanding that there was something wrong with the water, the food, the air, all of that.
All of it. The more I dug, and I like to call it the rabbit hole, because the deeper I went down it, the more astonished I was with my findings. And yeah, the water, the air, the food, how contaminated everything is around us, and whether it be that or just even packaging itself. Mm-hmm. We hear of even makeup and furniture that's off-gassing, and there's so many things around us that are toxic to us. And I at first, like everyone else, I believe that I thought that, okay, it was just technology getting ahead of itself. But the more that I step back and look, I'm starting to see some strategy to it. More importantly, deceit.
I have to ask you, if that was the beginning of it for you, then from there you somehow decided that you needed to look at the food, the air, the water, and how did the whole film idea come about from that?
Well, I think what really got me going with the film, as you know, I'm co-producing this film with Paul Wittenberger, who directed and co-produced What in the World Are They Spraying?
Great movie,
Wasn't
by the
it?
way. Great movie.
Yeah. After that film, we started hearing of these contaminants that were in the sky, the bariums, the aluminums, the magnesiums, and I looked at Paul and I said, here it is again, Paul, the metals. What is with the metal?
I'd like for you to tell everybody the title, The Great Culling. Explain how you came up with that real quick.
I don't know if you had to grab a dictionary like most and look up what the culling meant, but we're hearing that quite a bit, and we've got quite a bit of flack on that title. But where the title came from was Dr. Rima Labau. We interviewed her. She's actually in the film, and it was a few years ago. She was on Jesse Ventura's show, and he got an interview with her, and she had mentioned that one of her patients, while she was working here in the States, who was a head of state, had mentioned get prepared for the great culling. It's about to begin.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me tonight and tell everybody out there in Infowar land what you're up to and what we have to look forward to with the film. So hopefully we can interview you again when the film is released.
Yeah, how about at the screening?
How about at the screening? That sounds
you come?
great. I will definitely be there. Well, thank you very much, and this is Mary Ellen Moore signing off for Infowars.com.